Hey guys, how's it going? Oof, Monday, humid on the weekend. Well, kind of dry and windy as well. A lot of flowers are out in bloom, the jacarandas and some other things. They're spluffing everywhere. Anyways, can you put aside your feelings of being right in order to just listen to somebody? Now, this is kind of complicated in a way, in that usually when people are talking to each other, they feel a need to relate their own experience as a sign of being empathetic, or that they're listening. That's not really listening. It's kind of taking away the focus from the person who's relaying or telling you something and putting that back on yourself. Now, the other thing is putting aside your feelings of being right or vindicated in order to listen to somebody else. This can be difficult, when you don't agree with somebody, or when you feel like you need to make a point, or you want to get something done. Is that you kind of feel like you need to have your say and input immediately then and there, rather than just sort of putting that aside and saying, okay, what do they really want? Am I really listening? Hey Paul, and what is this really about? Frequently I get people who say, oh, but I keep telling them, or they keep telling me, I've heard this before, and I'm going, well, okay, you've heard it before, but have you really listened? Or when you're talking to them, have you kept interrupting? Are you bringing up something that you've told them before? In which case, they get the feeling that you haven't listened to them, or you haven't really listened to them. You're not really interested in listening to them at all, which is why people will keep telling you the same thing, because they feel that you haven't listened to them. And sometimes when people say, okay, hey, look, you've told them that before, you've harassed people before with this, or we've heard upteenth times, maybe you should just, let it lie for a bit, and they don't even acknowledge that, or they go, oh yeah, okay, well, but then they go and do that thing or say that thing again, and they come up with the same arguments, the same words, and the same sort of, we've been over this dozens of times from both sides. I was going, well, obviously one side isn't listening. And despite telling each other something over and over again, you got to stop and go, wait a minute, we're going over the same territory over again. We need to feel like we've been vindicated, being listened to, but what are we doing continually over again that's stopping us from really listening to somebody? It's not that easy to do. Sometimes when people say things, they just want you to listen to them and listen that they've been hurt, even if they're attacking you. And sometimes, it hurts, but you listen. And if it keeps going on for too long, please feel free to walk away, because even though you're there to listen, you're also not there to be abused and targeted for that too. It's a fine line, and sometimes you just have to say, hey, look, we've been over this before, you've told me this before, why are we still talking about this? In general, you agree to a lot of things, but there is a line that everyone has to draw on, am I going to stop saying this? Because, it's kind of like nailing jelly to a wall. It's kind of futile, and you got to think about, am I going about this the right way? Is also one of those things that you need to think about. Have there been things that I haven't considered? So instead of trying to vindicate yourself or say, look, I'm right. See, I'm right. It keeps happening. Therefore, I'm right. Go, well, if it keeps happening and I said I'm right, then obviously something I'm doing is wrong. So changing it up a bit. So not only listening to that, the person, but also listening to the fact that, have we been over this conversation before? This is really important, and something that I keep trying to tell people and talk to people about, particularly when I've talked to a few people, and most of these are women, when they say that their men don't understand, they don't talk, they don't communicate, they don't express themselves very well. And I said, well, you know, guys are pretty simple in general. So if you've got a particular type of guy, their method of communicating with you will be different because they are guys. In general, these type of guys, and I know it's being a stereotype, but this is true. It's one of those things, and I've seen it, experienced it, had to go through it, that when you ask them something really general, dancing around a subject, they will give you an exact same answer, which is dancing around the subject. And if you get frustrated from that, saying you continually ask him, I said, well, how are you asking? Are you dancing around the subject and saying, honey, what if? And you give them a theoretical, they will answer in a theoretical way. They'll think about all these possibilities and won't give you a straight answer. If you want a straight answer like, honey, do you love me or do you want to go out? They'll go yes or no. Or they'll tell you exactly what's on their mind. That's always very important. So ask a straight question, get a straight answer, and make sure you be specific, because sometimes things, even yourself, you find things really mentally draining. You don't want to think too much about what's going on, or your mind's on something else. And when someone asks you a question and you just don't understand, you go, I don't understand what you mean. What are you talking about? And so, well, it's a really simple question. I go, well, it could be a simple question, but why are you asking me when my mind's obviously occupied on something else? Or why can't you be a bit more specific, such as a general, I can't think of an example at the moment, a general question such as, you know, how do you feel about X, Y, Z? And even though it's kind of specific, it could be a general X, Y, Z, such as, how do you feel about politics? It's like, well, okay, what side of politics are you talking about? Are you talking about current climate? Talking about past stuff? Can you be a bit more specific? And if I'm thinking about, what I'm going to wear for an important function or something like that, my mind will just be like, not really there. I won't engage you that well. So I'll ask you, well, what do you mean? I don't understand the question. And if you say, well, it's a simple question, I said, well, my mind will go, okay, no, it's not a simple question. Can you be more specific? They say, oh, well, it is specific. But then we're just talking around in circles. So tell me exactly what you want. So what do you think about the current climate, like, say, Scott Morrison regarding this issue? I'm like, okay, well, I do or don't know about that issue. I can answer that question. Or can you leave it with me for a bit? I am busy doing something else. I'll get back to you and talk to you in like 5 minutes or something. Now that's not a rejection thing. It's a thing of, if you want my concentration and serious answer, want me to think about it and engage with me, then I need to finish this first, and then I'll give you my full attention. Okay, if you want a half-assed conversation, then by all means keep pushing it, because I'll just say, look, I can't give you an answer on that at the moment, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't care. Which is not really the answer that you want. But yeah, definitely. Think about the feelings that you have when you're having a conversation. You can't constantly seek to interrupt conversation. Like when someone says something, you immediately open your mouth to defend yourself or to explain something. Probably just to listen, particularly if you initiated the conversation, what they have to say. Don't say anything, don't get defensive, or try not to get defensive. Yeah. And what have you noticed other things that people have done, like interrupt you and stuff like that? They also feel like they need to be heard. What are you going to do in order to be able to listen better? There's lots of different techniques, lots of different things, and it will be different in every different situation. So I'll leave that with you today. Can you put aside your feelings to just listen? It's not an easy thing to do. It's very easy to say. And it's pretty long-winded for a Monday. But I'll catch you guys later, okay? Bye.